Welcome to 79%, the podcast where we make space for physician associate voices that are often shut down. This is a place for honest words, lived experience, and permission to speak. The views shared here are personal experiences and reflections on wider systems.
This podcast is not intended to single out or attack individuals, but to explore patterns, culture, and accountability. We're your hosts, Emma and Amanda. And just in case anyone is confused, we are physician associates, not podcasters. And if you want to find out why that's a fucking stupid thing to have to say, then keep listening. Professional disagreement is normal in medicine. Scope evolves, evidence changes, and guidelines are updated. Debate is part of clinical culture, but debate has boundaries. It's possible to argue about supervision ratios, prescribing authority, or curriculum standards without targeting individuals. It is possible to critique deployment models without demeaning an entire workforce. The question this episode asks is simple. At what point does professional disagreement become organised hostility, and why was it allowed to get to this point? To answer that, we have to start with where much of the escalation first became visible.
From 2023 onwards, online spaces became central to the PA debate. Forums on X, Reddit, and other platforms hosted sustained discussions about PAs. Very few of those discussions focused on policy and safety concerns. Others descended into cesspits of hostility. Dedicated accounts were created for the sole purpose of highlighting alleged PA failures. The tone in many of these spaces was not clinical. It was adversarial. PAs were described not simply as undertrained, but as inherently unsafe. Not as colleagues, but as threats requiring removal. Online discourse matters because it influences perception, and because those participating were not isolated individuals. Shockingly, many were doctors engaged in organised campaigning around pay and institutional reform. The boundary between activist space and professional leadership blurred massively.
The BMA hosted a reporting portal encouraging doctors to submit safety concerns relating to PAs. Reporting safety concerns is legitimate. Every healthcare system depends on transparent incident reporting. Within the NHS, there are formal reporting systems such as Datix and Radar, but context matters. The BMA portal was established during an openly adversarial campaign against PAs. Reports collected through politically motivated channels are not equivalent to systematic safety surveillance. There was no parallel national analysis comparing incident rates between PAs and doctors performing equivalent clinical tasks. There was no publication of denominators, the total number of patient encounters, against which those reports could be contextualized. Without that, anecdote can outpace evidence, and once a narrative of danger takes hold, it becomes self-reinforcing. The narrative was not confined to social media. It entered workplaces throughout the UK.
Online hostility did not remain online. Senior doctors were encouraged to refuse supervision of PAs. They were encouraged to reject referrals from PAs. They were encouraged to refuse to prescribe on behalf of PAs. Medical students were encouraged to refuse teaching from PAs. Worst of all, patients were encouraged to refuse care from PAs without understanding the potential delays in care that this may lead to. PAs who previously worked alongside doctors without any problem suddenly found themselves being professionally doubted. UMAPS reported representing associates in over 500 employment disputes since its establishment. That volume is highly abnormal for a profession of approximately 3,500 full-time equivalent clinicians. Bullying in healthcare is not new. The NHS has long-standing challenges with hierarchical intimidation. But what makes this moment distinct is that hostility was not isolated to senior-junior dynamics, it was profession-wide. When hostility is normalised at a national level, it legitimises behaviour at a local level. And when institutions do not clearly intervene, that normalisation of poor behaviour deepens.
Professional bodies carry authority. When they issue guidance, even if legally unenforceable, employees interpret it as risk signalling. When they fail to clearly condemn harassment or personal targeting, that silence is interpreted as tolerance. This is not about suppressing criticism. What becomes concerning is when criticism moves beyond structural issues and begins targeting individuals or the profession's identity. When institutions adopt language that frames an entire group as risk without robust comparative data, it lowers the threshold for professional criticism to become bullying. The Leng Review itself acknowledged that the debate around PAs had become toxic and that some of the evidence base was tainted by bias. That acknowledgement is significant. Toxicity does not arise spontaneously, it develops in environments where restraint is absent.
The psychological consequences of sustained hostility are measurable in some ways. Following the Leng Review, UMAPS reported that 95% of surveyed PAs said that their mental health had been negatively affected. Those figures demand attention. They reflect more than policy disagreement. They reflect professional destabilization combined with reputational attack. How can professionals feel safe when they fear that any routine clinical decision could be reframed as misconduct? When professionals worry that raising concerns will invite further targeting, silence becomes survival. Keep your head down, don't make a fuss, work under protest. These are not the hallmarks of a healthy professional environment, and that impact does not stop with the clinicians.
It is important to draw a clear line. Not all doctors oppose PAs. Many continue to supervise, support, and collaborate effectively. There is a difference between scrutiny and targeting. Sustained online pile-ons, public shaming of named individuals, and organised attempts to jeopardise people's employment cross that line. That is not professional critique. That is harassment.
The purpose of this episode is not to silence debate. It is to insist on standards. If medicine is to critique workforce roles, it must do so through evidence, structured analysis, and proportionate response. Medical leadership must demand robust evidence and high levels of professionalism from those raising concern. It cannot allow political grievance to morph into professional scapegoating. Bullying is not reform. Harassment is not governance, and silence in the face of dehumanization is not neutrality. When a profession representing 3,500 clinicians becomes the focus of obsessive, unrelenting hostility, that is not simply disagreement. That is a cultural shift that reshapes how medicine treats difference, handles conflict, and protects those within it. Today's discussion features Martins and Godwin, two outstanding clinicians who many of you will already know for their insight, humour, and the effortless way they bounce off one another. Usually, conversations with them are full of wit and warmth. But today's discussion takes a very different tone. In this episode, we'll be talking openly and honestly about the treatment physician associates have received online, the hostility that has developed across social media, and the very real human impact this has had on individuals within the profession. This conversation includes discussion of online abuse, harassment, mental health problems, and suicide. Please listen with discretion and take care whilst listening if there are topics you may find difficult. This is an important conversation and one we felt needed to be had.
Thank you so much again for being here. Okay, so can you remember when you were first made aware of the online hostility, or when you first came across the abuse and hatred online? How did it make you feel, and what first jumped out at you that things were not okay?
If you don't mind, I'll go first. For me, it was actually it was slightly before all the stuff, so just slightly before all the online stuff. So I used to work in a PCN. I still kind of work with them, but different setting of the same PCN. And then basically, the first thing I noticed, they were trying to change my role. Okay. And then they kept mentioning, oh, well, BMA, BMA. This is way before all this hostility came through. Then, my supervision increased, almost like I've regressed as a PA, that almost like nobody believed what I could do. Then this was before UMAP. So I joined the London PA group. And that's why I started seeing, what is going on with other PAs. I was like, what the heck is going on? Then at that time, I had a LinkedIn account, which I used for my website. Yeah. And then it just kind of like came all through, and I started seeing a specific type of doctors doing the same thing. And basically, it was just like hellfire. That's when I realized, oh wow, this is real. This is not like when I graduated and we were part of the staff. There was some minor things going on, but now this is real, which ultimately led me to leave that place to another place within the PCN. And how did it made me feel incompetent. It made me feel less than a human being. It was mostly because you're a PA, you don't deserve to almost exist. Okay. And I think that is absolutely, no matter what, that's not how you treat a human being. Obviously, down the line, we see even when the first NHS England kind of like Lang stuff came through, it was not advisory. It was like, this is what we want, you deal with it. And there's the thing that made me really angry. Sorry for going a little bit off topic.
No, it's okay.
Was at the very end of the long stuff release statement they put at the original one, which we can't find anymore. Okay. And it was just, if you're worried about your mental health, deal with it, kind of thing. And it's just like one liner after sentences and sentences of degrading us, less than, I would say, than anything really. And I could not understand the hate, because I studied, I graduated, I went to do the exam, I fought to become competent, because I remember at the very beginning, none of the GPs wanted you to even have time to integrate yourself. Within a week, you had full clinic. You didn't have a preceptorship. You didn't, like, literally, you go in, you're into work. They didn't even allow you to have time to even do the mandatory trainings. Okay. And now I work in the primary care. I've seen a lot of GP trainees. Literally, these guys get handed everything like in spoons. Half an hour clinics, several slots for admin. They go half a day off to do further studies. And I was like, what? And these are qualified doctors, right? As they always say, qualified. They always say qualified doctors, almost like it's as if there's unqualified doctors out there.
That's so true. That's so true, Martins. Yeah.
I was like, what does that mean? Qualified. So I'm unqualified? Is that, are you trying to imply that? And if that, who decided that? Did you go through hours and hours of grueling placement? Did you did my night shift? Did you pay my fees? And then when it kind of like,
that's a really good point.
Yeah, when it all unfolded, and I realized, oh my God, we're dealing with it was not to do with competence anymore. It was just to do with your existence, which is danger to them. And my question is this: if that's how you feel, why go about this way? Why? So that's how I kind of like ended up.
Yeah. Can I just ask you a question? So when you said, it's your role was changing a little bit within your PCN, had anything happened? Had there
No,
been any safety
I
concerns,
was
anything like that?
I was as just like today. Nothing like unusual. Obviously, in your job, you make some slight change, maybe, or you give Humovate instead of hydrocortisone, because again, you may make a clinical judgment at that point, or you may say, "Oh, I'm going to give them 15 milligram cocodamol again, through issued by the GP, they say, why should you give 15? You might as well just give them 30 because they can buy over the counter. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was minor things, not, and the thing that actually made, now that I'm thinking about it, it was when obviously everything kind of like went crazy. It was on YouTube. YouTube was crazy because Talk TV, every single thing was just against PAs everywhere.
Mm.
And I think it infiltrated the PCN, which I worked, that any patient that came through, they were almost testing me to see if they could find anything,
Yeah.
you know. I've had patients that they will come, you give them the right treatment, they will go to a consultant just to see if they could find anything. And obviously the consultant would say something because, oh, that's a PA, oh, you're telling me you didn't do a good job enough because of this study in 1993. I work in general practice. I don't have time to be going through that, you know. I treat you if you've got a lower respiratory infection. I'm not going to say I know the pathogen. Even in A&E, they don't test pathogen. They see a consolidation. They give you broad-spectrum antibiotics, you know.
Is that after 2023 or
This was
2023 onwards?
this is basically everything before Leng,
Everything
okay?
before Lang.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the time of Leng, I've already left that PCN. Well, that PCN,
Okay.
that aspect of that PCN.
What about yourself,
Yeah,
Godwin?
I'd say,
Um,
I mean, when I was listening to Martina, my mind just went straight to the whole thing that went or happened in my practice. I think had a very bad one. Where I work, that was a thought during practice, and it wasn't a PCN per se because I was myself and the other PA were both stationed in the same place, and then we're helping them. In fact, they have even GPs as such, so we have this. GP registrars who were coming, and like Martin said, in fact, there was one particular lady who caused most of the time she doesn't even go to the GP. She comes to me to say, "Oh, can you check this with me? Help us." And I was shocked when the whole thing started. She turned against us and was still saying something. And I reminded her one day. I said, "Look, do you remember I've helped you on several issues, several things?" He said, "Yeah, but that is not what I don't have a medical degree." I said, "Okay, no problem." So it was a Saturday morning that I saw an email from my one of the GP partners, because the owners of the GP, they both husband and wife. So the wife wrote and copied myself and the other PA saying that there's something going about the PA. They have received something from BMA saying that we're not supposed to be seeing patients that are below the age of 18. So we look at the whole thing. Then she called us to the following month when I saw her. She called us to her office and said, "Oh, don't worry, you guys are doing very well. There's no way we would have run this GP practice without you people. You are doing very, very well. I know what you are doing. In fact, I have not seen any difference between you and what we do as doctors." And I thought that she was on our side until this lady, Dr. Katie Bransma, I don't know how you guys know her. She was a local
No.
LMC. So she came to our GP practice and she said that, look, she was telling her because they are both friends. She's saying that, oh, why are you keeping the PAs? You're actually robbing the doctors of a job. And in fact, your children are also going to be doctors. If we allow this to happen, our doctors are not going to have a job in times to come. So when they discussed that, the husband was saying, no, that is not right. I mean, Corbin and Frances, because I guess they are very, very good. In fact, in all honesty, if you ask me, I don't even know why we have to do all this here to go to school to do this. They are very, very good. We could have run this practice without them. But then, 2 weeks later, the lady called us and said, "Oh, there's so much pressure on them," and then she started showing us some emails and threat for some doctors against them for not complying to what they are doing. There was one long email from BMA saying that those are the people that they call them ladder pullers, whatever they call them, ladder puller. I was one that used to see all the, this new baby check in the GP.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did all those
Yeah.
ones. And one of the registrars, actually, when he wants to do any of the babies, because they don't allow him to do it, but when he wants to do it, they say I have to be there with him to do it. So there was one particular.
So,
There was one particular.
so Godwin, you were supervising him
Yeah,
in a way.
because they trusted me
Oh,
so much.
blasphemy,
They
blasphemy.
trusted me so much that there was this guy. He listened to a heart sound of that baby, and it was a case of ASD. You know, when you listen to the
Yeah.
ASD,
Yeah.
he couldn't pick the sound. He said he wasn't sure. I listened. I said, "Oh, this is ASD. We need to do a referral quickly to what do you call cardiologist." So and that's what we do. You know, there was a child with spinal cord feeder. He said, "Oh," and I told him we're going to do it. So all of a sudden, they say, "Oh, there is this pressure on them. They can't keep them able to keep us. We should understand with them what is happening." And because we are not on full time employee, so what they do is that every year they extend your. It's not only us, all the GPs in that practice like that. They don't employ
Oh,
anybody.
fixed contract, yeah.
Contract. All of us.
Yeah, that's your
All the
cooks, man.
GP, two of us PA, the nurses, the everybody's on fixed contract. So they say that
That's dodgy, man.
they won't be able to keep us. They are sorry for what happened. In fact, if anything died down,
Yeah, they're not sorry at all,
they
are
don't mind.
they?
No,
You
no,
just
no.
So
you provided a
they were
service. They
saying
don't
that.
care
So
about
I
you at
look
all.
at them and say, well, people are just being wicked, and I'm so sorry
Yeah.
to say this, but I used to think that doctors are good people, but I never know that you people are just like this. It's unfortunate. That doesn't mean, look, I came to this. The good thing is that you are a witness to yourself that ever since I've been working here, from wherever I came from, there have not been any single case of complaint against me. In fact, to a point that you don't even supervise my work. You told me it's me that will come to you. I will say, "Can we have this?" And you say, "It's fine. There's nothing. There's nothing else I will do. What you do is right."
Yeah.
There was a consultant who wrote a letter one day about something concerning my something. You are the one that took it upon that consultant, and the guy had to write an apology letter to me. So all of a sudden, just because of me say, and people we all know what they are actually, aiming at. They see us as people who have come to take their job, and they're not even hiding it. So
That's very
there's no
strange.
problem. There's no problem. This is not the end of the world. If there is the job, good for it. So I was doing something before I came to this job. I was referred to it very, very. In fact, I told them that look, I think I lost any doing this job. It just is. That's all. So in March last year, the first guy now couldn't stay. He got a job in A&E and left. He said, "Oh, won't I get a job?" And at the time, the job was really drying up, so I couldn't get a job. And there was nowhere to apply to. I told myself, "Look, if there's a job, good for. If there's no job, I was going to go and what do you call it? I was going to go back and do my MRI." You know, I have missed something before now. Do you know that lady, the wife of this GP, that is the other partner? She was actually writing to Department of Health saying that they have to give us a prescribing right. And she mentioned my name and she said, "I want my PAs to be able to prescribe." In fact, there is no reason why they shouldn't prescribe. They are very good.
So Godwin, sorry, let me understand. Initially, she was saying she wants you to prescribe, and then turned.
Yes. And then,
so these people, there's no integrity
and
with
then
these
when
people
this
at all, is there?
Kate
It's
Drama
just,
put pressure on him, and then pressure from BMA now, she just turned. She has no integrity at all. They are liars. That's why I used to
You
respect
need to stick to your guns,
now.
isn't it?
I have no
just
single
have the
respect
courage of
for
your conviction.
any of them. So it was towards the end of March, so I got my GM's registration, and then when my contract ends, I left. They wrote a very nice letter to me talking about how anybody want to employ me. Honestly, they don't have any problem. It's just that because we pressure something like that, they can't employ PS anymore for now and everything. So they gave me a letter. I kept it myself. The GP, what they call them, the PM, our PM, what is her name again? Practice manager. Yeah, she said, "Godwin, look, these doctors are wicked people. Everybody know. We had a meeting behind you, and everybody was saying you are very good. France is also very, very good. I think we're going to lose. And you know what? We're going to pay more money to these doctors to do the job. And you are doing work almost for nothing in this place. You just go, don't worry. I think she said, "Come and have a way of catching with people." He said, "But I've worked in GP for a long, long time now. These doctors are not good people. They are never happy people." So that was what she told me, and then I left. In fact, when I left, there were no job. I didn't even bother on to do. So I started doing local for my MRI. And you know what? I was actually making more money than whether I was in there. So if the job come back later for PA, I will go back and do PA actually like part time. And then that's what I want to do.
Just never know.
And at the point, I say maybe I would have actually taken up because when I got this GP, when I went to GP before, I got a job in hematology, very close to, and I say no, I want to do GP, that I'll see everybody, and that's why I went for GP. As much as I went, I won't have this problem, but I'm not regretting it anyway whatsoever. So that's actually what happened. So it was through email from the practice manager, the wife. I mean, the GP partner, the wife. The husband had no problem at all. She was even saying, let's ignore these people and keep these people. But she was the one that was a friend to Katie Brahma Stenner. I will never forget that woman. She was the one that came and said so many things. So it's all about protection. That's why I went online and I was writing at the time. I said, look, it's not about it's not about patient protection at all, because you cannot justify what they are saying. Doctors make mistakes all the time. We have never said because one doctor made a mistake or made an error, then
you have to review
every other doctors are saying, oh, because one made a mistake, now everybody should be restricted from doing certain things because they should have a scope of practice. They should have no, you don't do that. And unfortunately, the government, these governments, went with all those things, and very unfortunate. I never knew that things like this could happen in a country like this. Honestly.
Oh, Godwin, I totally agree with that. You don't expect this level of corruption here.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the point that you made in the first recording, as I said before, because I think that was really good and we didn't give it the due attention. So the point you made, Godwin, was that you were surprised that the doctors managed to call an EGM with the Royal College of Physicians, weren't you? And why were you surprised?
I was surprised because I never understand the enormity of, the way they actually took the matter. I thought it was, because if you remember at the time, they started with the issue of we shouldn't be addressing ourselves as Mr. or Mrs. because doctors use that in this country. And then when the faculty of PA agreed to say, okay, let's go by that, then they step it up again with formal and other requests. And then all of a sudden, in the space of the whole 500 years, they now want to call an AGM. And then I saw some professors of medicine, people who said they were talking about. In fact, at the time, I forgot something. I was actually doing a program in University of Sheffield, the medical school there. We were 8 people in that class. 2 of us were PA, the rest were doctors. I even have doctors from Russia, and we're doing a clinical endocrinology and diabetes, which I did. So we all did. With the exams we wrote, all of us did the same exam. It was a master's program. We did the same presentation. We did everything. And a lot of the doctors who came actually were registrars who were already doing endocrinology and diabetes. So it's not as if they passed. I didn't pass. I didn't repeat in the exam. They didn't. So in fact, one of the lady actually, pulled out of the program because she said, she has a child care, she couldn't cope or something like that. And myself and the other PA, we passed very well as well. So
well done.
I was surprised that they call an AGM for the issue of PA. They say it was the issue, it was a safety issue. Now they were referring to just one picture. One person. One PA made a mistake in London who was doing, and they now want to hold every PA responsible for the mistake of one person. And even that mistake should be a learning point. You don't just say somebody make a mistake and then you start, bewitching or witch hunting the person. People learn for their mistake. In medicine, look, like I wrote the last time, somebody was attacking me on on X the other day, and was saying, "Oh, yeah, they have made a mistake again. These people are not good. They shouldn't be allowed." And I say, "Well, what you are saying is not right." And when I sent that, whatever I posted to you guys to him, he kept quiet. He didn't say anything again. So I was surprised that they would call, emergency general, meeting that have not happened for a whole 500 years on the issue of PA, just because they were out to make sure they abolish this PA. They saw PA as people who are out coming. They know our capacity, so they see us as people who have come to do their job, which is not the case.
Yeah. So Godwin,
that in its sorry, go on. I was going to say that in itself is just crazy, isn't it? 500 years.
All of a sudden.
It is just.
But there had been 3. We just can't find.
There's been three
are.
including ours. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So it'd be interesting to know what they
Yeah.
were. And if anyone is listening to this and wants to have a look into that, and then let us know, like, our DMs are open, and we've got on our Instagram, actually, our contact details are on there. So it'd be really interesting if people could look into that and let us know, because I've had a look and I can't find what on earth they were comparing us to have an EGM.
I think the EGM. Sorry for budgeting.
Not at
I
all.
think that was also done to instill fear, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of psychology behind these tactics. Remember, there was that Reddit post where it basically started the agenda, isn't it?
The manifesto
Okay.
from
The
Frosty Carob. Yeah,
manifesto.
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I think it was not really, I guess, like Godwin said, is about patient safety. The idea is to instill fear to every practices, to the public, to the trust.
Yep.
It was not necessarily that it was the biggest thing, but they make it as big as they could to bring fear. And once you instill fear, okay, they say, well, hold on, now we are the solution. We are the solution. Now, please get rid of these people. Then we'll show you we are the solution. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the psychology behind it. It was not to, I don't think it was because of, the amount of um, bad cases from PAs. I wouldn't say that is actually, we've seen it in UMAP. It's
Yeah.
way less for sort of short period of time
Yeah.
than how much we've been in existence in the UK, because the PA role exists in several countries.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's the answer, the psychological answer. It was, yes, it's been 500 years, but for them, they felt this needed that kind of power to at least, when you're you get a nitro oxide, you just
Yeah.
boom it.
Yeah.
Then let's see the damage, the after damage.
Oh,
And obviously,
absolutely.
we've
Yeah.
seen the after damage, and we are still experience it, and I still believe that we'll experience it for a very long time, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Martin, the EGM was just part of a strategy, wasn't it?
Yes.
And as we said, the strategy is mentioned in the manifesto. So it was to shift opinion through stories and repeated messaging, and then use
Yes.
emotion, as the manifesto says, especially outrage, to mobilize colleagues. And then
Yes.
it was specifically to target royal colleges and call EGMs as key levers of influence. So amplify media attention to reinforce the narrative. So this was all planned. And let's just go
Yes.
into that. I mean, I don't want to talk about Sarah Clark too much, because I think she's a really interesting part of this, and she's probably an episode in herself. But do you remember how? I mean, this plays brilliantly into the social media thing. But do you remember that how Sarah Clark was the president of the RCP at the time? She had released a pro PA article in the BMJ around the same time as the EGM. So she was just saying that PAs can have a positive influence within the NHS. Like, let's not hate them completely. And of course, the EGM went ahead, and then there was a huge social media campaign to get rid of her, because she was the only one willing really to stand up and say, I am not convinced that you guys have got this right. I'm standing up against the narrative that you've created, because I don't see anything wrong with these people. And I think she went through absolute hell before she eventually stepped aside. And I don't think that I think she held out as long as she possibly could against a tidal wave that was always going to consume her. It would have consumed anyone, sadly, because she got so much abuse online.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do, don't they?
Yeah.
They just orchestrate a pile-on
That's
to
what
suit them.
Yeah.
For whatever the outcome is they want, that's
Sarah,
what they do.
Absolutely.
Well, that's why what we see today with the strikes, isn't it? They don't care
I
about
used to
people.
work with Sarah.
They always choose key moments, Christmas, Easter, moments where people should celebrate it. There's so much suffering in this world.
Excellent
But
point.
they use suffering as a weapon to bring more suffering, and then pointing fingers at other people for the suffering they commit.
Yeah. And Martin, these people are doctors. Again, that's the bit that I cannot understand. You've sworn oath to act with integrity, to do no harm, and this is the way that they're now going about getting more money,
In fact,
essentially, because that's what it comes down to.
some of them openly stated online that they don't care whether PA, go and hang themselves or commit suicide. Don't care. In fact, there was a story about a PA student who died in a Leeds, something at the time or so, or commit suicide, something, they say, yeah, they don't care. These are supposed to be doctors. And look, a lot of them doesn't have empathy for patients. They don't care about patients. Look at them going on strike now. Money.
What I wanted to say, actually, just in terms of, when you mentioned they said they don't care if a PA hangs themselves, I think that was in relation to a particular PA who was being really trolled online by multiple accounts. And somebody said, I think this has gone too far. What if he kills himself? And one of them said, if he kills himself, he kills himself. And then there's been that acid attack comment as well, hasn't there? That was on Reddit, and that's been just so. I think that said something along the lines of, why are these PAs being allowed to be anonymous? You've heard of snitches get stitches. How about PAs get acid attacked in hospital car parks by trainees? And then there was a comment straight underneath that saying, for all them out there that are going to jump on this, it was clearly a joke. And now I don't understand their sense of humour, because that isn't funny to me. That is not a funny joke.
Can I correct that though? It doesn't even say it's a joke. It says before any of the crazies. It says before any of the crazies or journos lurking on this subreddit get any ideas, this is not an endorsement or suggestion that acid attacks are anything other than heinous. It doesn't say don't acid attack
but doesn't
a PA.
It say? No, it doesn't. No. But doesn't it also say though? But time will tell.
Yeah, that's how the last one ends. It says yeah, the old adage, snitches get stitches, PAs get acid attacks in the hospital car park by would-be trainees, not actual trainees. And then it says time will tell. Nice.
It's very, very unfortunate.
So what does time will what does that time will tell even mean?
I don't know, but what
does that mean in that context?
The stuff around that tweet, because I know that within the PA communities that sent a bit of a shockwave, I think, because we get the hostility from doctors, but I don't think we ever thought there would be something quite as explicit as that. And then if it's been mentioned afterwards, because of course that has now been deleted despite the fact we've got screenshots of it, they deny any evidence that
they deny that it happened.
Absolutely.
Well, NHS England denied that they ever sent emails at the beginning saying that they should massively restrict that. So it's something that is within their culture, something that they've practiced. And the question is, like, if they've done it to us, how many other times it's happened to other organizations, roles? That is my fear. That means these guys have mastered it, rehearsed this, perfected it.
But I don't think it has before us. I don't think it has happened to other roles. I think we're seeing it happen now to like ACPs. But before, I think we are the first one that they've felt threatened by, and I think that's what it is. I think they feel threatened by our role, and also they feel hard done to because they realise actually they don't need to go to university for 5 years or 6 years,
but
or however long it takes for them.
But
we're not. No,
they just want the benefits, I think, of being a PA, but they don't understand that it's not full of benefits at all, is it? You still have to work hard. You still are faced with the same kind of work that doctors are. You're just not doing nights. That's it.
Like
some PAs do nights though.
That's what I'm saying.
Some do nights. Most of us don't, but some of us do.
It depends on where you work, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And we're also dealing with this, aren't we? We're going to work and dealing with everything that they deal with, but we're also dealing with this.
On top.
And if we just go back to the acid attack thing as well, I think UMAPs were having a in-person meeting or conference. That's it. And that had to get cancelled. And part of the reason for that to be cancelled was that I think the venue were concerned about security based on that Reddit and the social media around it. And then, saying, other tweets saying they should all get shot was one that I read the other day, which is an old one. That's you just need somebody who is not in the right frame of mind, or somebody who's a little bit unstable
need more
to
than
read
one.
that and take it seriously. Yeah.
You don't need more than one. We've seen that obviously in other things, school shootings and stuff like that. You just need one.
Yeah.
You don't need more than
So
one.
That's very true.
No,
the
That's
just
very
one.
true,
Yeah.
Marcus.
the online
You know,
bullying and the hostility towards PA by these doctors um, was very, very horrific.
Yeah.
Personally, I'll repeat myself again. I was so disappointed in GMC, and I think that the paper they wrote their good medical practice with regards to issue of bullying or behaviors of doctors is not what the paper that is written on. The GMC, if you look at their what they say at the time, they say that they operate is zero tolerance approach to bullying, harassment,
sure.
and victimization, maintaining that such behavior, whether in person or online, is unprofessional and can have serious consequences for individual health, team performance, and patient safety. Yet,
Yeah.
we told that they wrote and said they kept quiet. The worst was that the GMC referred to the whole bullying as an online discussion. The GMC said that the GMC,
Yeah.
which explicitly state that doctors must not use social media to abuse, discriminate against, or bully, harass, or deliberately target any individual or group, they were doing all these things, and the GMC, under the watch of the GMC, and they did nothing. We told about the professional standard, the boundaries. For instance, that the same standard of conduct required in face-to-face interaction applied to online activity, including personal or private account. Yet,
Yeah.
these doctors
Yeah.
who were under the registered James registered doctor were behaving in a manner that actually contradict all the that the GMC stood for. Yet none of the GMC leaders, not the Department of Health and social care leaders or the NHS leaders, stood up to them and tell them to keep quiet. They watched PAs being bullied to the point that people felt dehumanized, were treated as nobody just because we went to study PAs. They also say that, on impact on fitness to practice, the James went ahead to say that engaging in online bullying or harassment can lead to investigation regarding a doctor's fitness to practice. They knew the doctors who were involved in these activities, but they never ever investigated of them. Even if they investigate, the investigation would never, they never brought anybody to justice. So because there was no one actually they did anything for one of all these bullying, nothing was there to serve as a deterrent to all the other doctors. So they, in fact, if anything, they
doubled down
by the day and double down on their abuse and bullying of PAs. What have they done? Just because they went to study PAs. Talking about legality and responsibility, doctors must be aware. They said in their own that online postings are subject to the same laws of defamation, discrimination, and harassment as verbal or written communication. The GMC were on X especially, and they saw all the posting by several people that they knew, and they did nothing about it. So
till today,
they didn't do anything today.
Yeah, true today.
And they talk about identifying risk. Content posted anonymously can often be traced, and private group discussion can become public. The GMC were aware they have the power to trace all those anonymous accounts, to hold them accountable. They never did anything. So the GMC leaders were complicit to all this that happened. I don't think any other professional group or a professional body will accept that. I don't think in America, in Canada, in other advanced countries, they will allow this to happen to anybody.
I agree with you, actually.
We
Godwin.
are citizens in the first instance. We have a right to life and a right to dignity. So why are PA different? Why are we treated differently? So honestly, some PAs actually develop depression, mental health issues because of the bullying. It was all done under the watch of the UK government, the GMC, who is supposed to be there to protect every registrant, or even those who are supposed to register with them. They are there to actually keep check on those who are on their register, yet they allow this thing to happen. So they are complicit with all that happened, honestly. And I'm so disappointed.
Yeah. I agree with you, Godwin. So you said so much there that I wanted to let you go, but I also wanted to chip in and be like, let's explore that. So you said dehumanized, and I think dehumanized has come up a couple of times. So what do you think? So I have views on this, but I want to know what you think. Of course, it's okay to professionally critique a profession or something that you work with. But what is unique about the way that they target PAs, and why are we calling it abuse rather than what the leaders have said, which is just toxic debate?
A debate is like you can disagree. Yeah, you can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
But abuse is that you stop that process, then you start targeting the other person specifically.
Personally, yeah.
Personally, by in this case, our degrees, and then when you lose that ability to actually discuss, then you start imposing things, threatening them, degrading them, or dehumanizing them. Then it's not even the word toxic debate. It's not even enough.
Yeah.
That's just straight abuse. But one thing I found out in life, that when people start attacking the person, that means they've already lost the argument.
Yeah, I mean, I would normally agree. Had we
Yeah.
not had
Yeah.
so many redundancies, if we weren't still going through
Oh
it.
yeah,
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 yeah.
absolutely. It's just because of the power, and that's why
Yes.
there's a lot of talks, even from the conservative, that the BMA is a militant union.
Yeah.
Why? Because over the years they've gained so much power that they basically think that they are lawmakers, and in a way they are kind of lawmakers. Yeah, because they can drive a GM, they can drive a whole government to stack. Like Leng review is something that is just the epitome of how much strength the BMA has. Even with the GR coming up, I still believe that they know that they have power there, because they've
Mhm.
shown it to us. And I read a comment by, this was Reddit ages ago, where Steve was debating some of our fantastic doctors online, and there's a comment that said, "We created you guys, and we will get rid of you."
Yeah.
And that's
Mhm.
power. And the person that said it knew exactly why they stayed there, because they're probably part of the BMA is a union that maybe started well, but if you look through history, like I think I posted on the group chat time ago, that you could use a website called Time Reverse or something, a time capsule,
Is it
and you
wait?
could actually see all their
Yeah.
statements
Oh, nice.
4 years ago, 5 years ago. It was so good.
Yeah,
What
they
happened?
did support PAs, but we know what happened, right? We know what happened.
Yeah,
The doctors got disgruntled about their pay because their union had not been working for them, right?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's a good point, isn't it? What the hell were the BMA doing between
yeah.
2008 and
Yeah.
2022, 2023 when this all kicked off?
Yes,
Like
yes, yes.
nothing.
I think a lot of it also had to do with locum work drying up, didn't it?
Yes, 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 yes,
Because
yes. Because we were taking
PC,
their job apparently.
yeah, apparently. But I think when like so PCNs and hospital trusts obviously just hemorrhage money, and the amount of money that they spend on
Oh,
locums.
it's huge.
um Yeah, and then so they took on PAs to kind of reduce that deficit a little bit, but that meant that then there wasn't the locum opportunities. But the locum rates were starting to get ridiculous, weren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if and that's what it is. Like if you look at the early doctors, that the ones that are the early criticizers who say, I can't get a GP job. Well, you can, but what you mean is you can't get a locum GP job.
close to
That's
your
what you mean. You
house,
don't.
that suits
Yeah,
your childcare, that
Mm.
suits your lifestyle. Let's pile it up. And they started. Remember, you guys remember there was this specific GP that they said is doing Uber Drive. It was just one GP, and they were
yeah,
claiming that there were loads of them doing Uber Drive. Well, in America,
yeah,
there's people that are lawyers at the beginning of their career that are also Uber drivers.
Mhm.
yeah.
There are
And
And
many
like
professionals like that.
yeah, none of
Yeah, and
that's
it's but
unique
it's
to
not
being a
ideal, is
doctor.
it? No,
Yeah.
it's not exactly that. And it's not, having to have a second job like that is not ideal, but lots of people in this country have to have two jobs, even
I,
three
I,
jobs,
I
to
do
make
three
ends meet.
jobs at the moment, because before this BMA stuff, I had to do kind of like three jobs. Okay. Uh,
Martins, I feel like you're just like adding to the whole doctor masquerading now. Like you're working
but
right.
what I'm saying, we as PAs, we don't come that, because I was watching a debate online a couple of months ago about this FY1s, and I think FY2s, that they were angry that jobs were not given to them. They were expected that they would have a training post given to them right in their front step, and they could not even think that they should fight for it.
I think their problem is so they don't even know where their problem starts. They don't know how to address it. Now, some of the medical students, even they're not even doctors. They are saying that they're not happy with the expansion of medical schools because there will be enough job for doctors, and they don't want to come out and get a job.
Yes,
So
I
you
saw
see,
that one
so
too.
everything about them, it has nothing to do with patient safety. It's all about, I posted something yesterday on X that some people were coming me up. I was just laughing. You know, they were talking about this guy, this PA that did a lumbar puncture in somewhere in Wales. They said he tried 7 times, didn't get it, and then he went out for falsify a document. There was a case of a GP who falsified a doctor's, a patient record as well. What he wrote was different from what it was supposed to do. We posted that one there. There was one I had where a lumbar puncture, first of all, a nurse tried to do it, attempted 3 times, couldn't get it. The consultant came in, attempted twice, couldn't get it. And the patient have to go, and then they have to come back, and then one other person now did it even twice and then got it. So a nurse did a lumbar puncture in Nottingham, failed to get it. He did it twice. The consultant came and did it twice. He didn't get it. And let's come and do it. So I posted the whole thing on Reddit, and people were now like loving it, thumbing up. And then one doctor now wrote me, I didn't even respond to him yet. He said, okay, yeah, we know that people make mistakes and everything is expected, but that do you not think that it is those who have MBBS, medical degree, that should be trained such procedures? Do you not think that if they make a mistake, it's more understandable than when somebody go down there, doesn't happen?
Yeah.
It's
I'm going to respond to him better. Because at the end of the day, skill is not about the certificate you have. I have seen doctors with MBBS, they couldn't put a cannula in the vein. They have no idea what they are doing. I do MRI most of the time. I'll see these doctors, they will come in, especially SPR. When they look at the picture, I ask them, what are you looking at? They have no idea what they are looking at. But these are people who will tell you, a PA cannot request a medical image. He can't request an X-ray. I'll just laugh at them. They have no idea what they are doing, honestly. So
Godwin, I think you're right. I think the more incompetent the doctor, the more likely they are to hate on the PAs. I think there are some fantastic.
They have seen PA as a threat because they saw the capacity of PA.
And they should.
Somebody in Australia, they went to Australia as well. One Australian GP said that PA degrade. He said it reduces our value. Yeah, that's the word she used. PA reduce our value. So they say they studied for 3 years, they studied for 3 years. Why are they it's so unfortunate. The attack became so personal. The attack became so personal.
Personal, yes.
They were calling, they changed to name calling, and the whole thing became very, very vile and vile in every dimension. If the whole thing changed to, there was a lot of emotional escalation. When the whole thing now changed from, constructive argument or putting your point across to name calling and verbal hostilities or public humiliation, it's no longer anything but you're just being selfish. And I was thinking the government should have a look at that and say, no, we can't deal with this. Stop it.
The government is going ahead with
they went ahead. The whole thing, they started to sabotage, PAs. They were saying, withhold information from them, don't supervise them, don't teach them, don't do this. And yet, these are the people that will come and tell that the patient safety, they are concerned about patient safety. Or your colleague who is doing the job to help the patient, you are saying you are now advocating that the people who will help them should withhold information from them. Is that done in medicine? So it's unfortunate that they allow this to happen. But I think, personally, I'm hoping that somehow there will be a public inquiry by the grace of God that this happen.
Somewhere.
It's unfortunate.
I personally, I think the starting point will be for the public to know what discussion was going on through the Leng review, who she sat down with, how she was influenced. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody just like the public deserves.
She was completely influenced, and that's why they are taking it.
That's why we're not asking to make up anything. We just want the evidence of what they've said. So the public can decide where the worst thing that's ever happened to NHS, or they can say, you know what, this is X, Y, and Z. But I don't think it's fair to any human being to be given, because I always say, half truth is as bad as a lie. Okay?
Yeah.
And that is what they're doing. They're giving some half truth. The Leng review was a half truth, which is, we can see this is as bad as a lie, because if she lied, you can say, okay, fair enough, lied. But she's presenting it as evidence that she knows what she's talking about. To be fair, I'm even doubting that the people involved in this review even know what is a PA.
Oh, Martins, I agree with that. I think so many people who have influence over our jobs haven't got a clue what we actually do.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
And that's why I said that from the very beginning, it was already flawed.
Yeah. Guys, I feel like we should call it now. That's been really good, actually.
It has,
I think,
hasn't
for this
it?
episode.
Like, I think we've got some incredible stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, and we didn't even really need to ask the questions, because the conversation has flowed into the questions anyway. So that's really good, and it's been a bit more of a conversation. But I am aware that Godwin, you needed to be out of here by 6. Yeah. So I think it's a good place to stop.
Amazing.
But if you guys are happy, no doubt at another time, we will definitely love to have you on again.
Just because you're so passionate, I think it's really good to listen to you. And I think PAs will be so uplifted hearing this, because these are only conversations we can talk about with each other, because other people don't understand at all. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. That was a fantastic conversation. And
Thank you so much. Thank you for organizing this as well. Thank you.